Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be pouring up some jigs. We got the hot pot going and 100 hooks. Stick around, we'll get into it. Alright, so right now we're getting ready to pour up some of our ball head jigs. This has got the 1/4 ounce, 3/8, and 1/2 ounce in it. What I like to do when I get ready to start pouring jigs is I'll take the steel base hole pins, place one in each slot, take a hook, and these are 3/0 Victory hooks. These are not the V-locks. These are just the regular 3/0. Dump them all out of the container. Makes it easier to separate them. And then I'll take and lay them in. And all of these jigs are going to be the finesse style jigs. But what we'll do is go ahead and close the mold. Make sure there's no gaps in the mold here. If you have something out of line, I'll go ahead and put something out of line here. You'll have a gap like that, even if it's small, that matters. So you want to make sure everything's in line, everything's secure, and no gap. Then what I'll do is I'll take this mold, and I've got the hot pot 2 that I use right now, and I will place that hot pot 2 right on top of that mold if I'm not using the griddle that I have. Kitty cat, what are you doing? If I'm not using the griddle that I have to set this stuff on, I will use the hot pot. It heats everything up just the same as the griddle does, but it focuses that heat going up and down, and it keeps me from wasting energy when I'm melting down lead. Now, we do have some chunks from some lead that I ran the other day for an order that's melting down, but I also have bricks of lead that I have cleaned. I've fluxed it all out. This is pure soft lead. So we'll set that off to the side, close it up, and as I mentioned in a previous video, I use my blowtorch for doing lead work. I will also use it to help speed up the process of melting down the lead, because once it starts to melt, all of it melts a lot faster. And now that that's all melted down, I'll take our brick that I've got poured up, set it right there, and we'll move all this over where you guys can see it a little better. Point that camera down just a little bit. And this takes quite a while to get it all melted down, but it's well worth the wait. This is allowing our mold to heat up and melt down the lead. I also have my silicone mat that's just a basic silicone cutting mat that I got from Amazon. They come in 2 packs, and I've got one that I use because if I spill lead on the countertop here or desktop, this isn't real wood, it's a vinyl on top of it, which I did before. I'll throw a picture in. I have burned this top before and it bubbles up and the paper underneath doesn't do well with that. Move our brick around here, try and get it melted down a little bit. While you guys are here, or while we're waiting for this to melt down and the mold to heat up, I am no longer using Etsy to sell. At least not right now, I'm not. I might continue it in the future, but as of right now, I have stopped using Etsy. It did not work out the way that I wanted it to with Etsy, and I think that it would be better to find like a Shopify or something like that where I can make my own storefront and be able to post everything up. Now, as you guys can see, that brick is slowly melting down into the pot. What we're going to do is we're going to leave this all set like this for about 2-3 minutes after it gets completely melted. And I forgot to clean up the pot after I did my run the other day. And the corrosion that you're seeing here on the outside of the pot, if you look further down, it's got quite a bit of corrosion on this side. That's from where I use my flux. And it has fumes that come over the side, and it does corrode that quite a bit. But it's not detrimental to the pot itself. Where to go? We have a piece of lead that needs to go back in. If we have some impurities from that previous ran stuff, when I cleaned it up off the table, I can use this spoon that I got at Goodwill for 50 cents, scrape off all the crud off of the surface of the lead. I've got it wrapped in shrink tube so that even if this gets hot, I've got some form of a barrier between my hand and the metal. And this is where it's smart to go and buy a cheap pair of gloves. I got these at Harbor Freight. They're just cheap gloves. You do want to be careful when using the gloves, though, because they do have synthetic materials that if you get up against something that's really hot, or like I use my ingot mold and I'm holding on to it too long, it will start to melt the glove itself. I'm not going to use it right now. I usually do my first run with the mold. It's starting to get warm, but guys, here in Kansas today, it's 44 degrees outside. So I'm just waiting for the mold to heat up before we pour. Because if you don't wait for the mold to heat up, you'll get inconsistent pours, improper pours, missed pours, which I'm sure we will have some of those. And I'll show you what I do with those when I go through the pour, because not every pour is going to be perfect. And I will melt down anything that I see as an imperfect pour and re-pour it. But something else that I do is there is 100 hooks, 97 with what we put in the mold already, in each of these containers. I make sure to run in runs of 3 so that I have an even amount of jigs poured up for what I'm wanting to do. We have 600 hooks that we purchased from Do It Molds that fit this mold and our football head mold. So, all right, this feels like it's warmed up. So with this, you don't want to have it all the way full. As you can see, we've got quite a bit of room in this to fill up more. That's perfectly fine to do. You don't want it full. And then you slowly want to pour the lead out into the mold, trying to keep it into the holes that go to the jig. I'm not always the best at doing that either. But we'll go ahead, open this up, and I'll show you guys whether or not these came out the way I want them to. All right, so the first one that we did not. And I'll show you what I mean by it did not. There is no bait keeper on that. So what I'll do is I'll set this off to the side and I'll leave the other 2 in there, because those look like from the side that I'm looking at that they poured out properly. So what I'll do is I will take and put another hook in that slot, another base hole pin, and something's off. And what was off is I put the base hole pin and the hook in the wrong slot. So we just move it down to the other end. Get it closed back up. And then slowly but surely pour into the mold. Now there is a trick that I did try the other day where you take a candle and smoke your mold so that it pours perfect jigs almost every time. I could not get this candle to smoke the mold properly. All right, so here we have what I consider a perfectly poured jig. There's no occlusions. I'll take that back. There's one in the collar where I would tie that. So the 1/2 ounce needs to get poured again. Close it back up. Again, make sure that you're not having any gaps. And pour it full. And lead does not take that long to cool. that one didn't pour right either. The color didn't come out right. I have got to find a candle that puts off enough soot that it will allow for me to smoke this mold. All right, so we're trying the third half ounce now. And it still didn't come out right. And as you guys can see, I am inside. I have a fishing pole sitting next to me from another video that I did. As you guys can see, I am sitting inside. I've got the lead going. I have a window open, even though it's frigid out. And I don't have a respirator on, and I'm messing with lead. This lead is not getting up to a point where it's boiling. That's when you have the lead fumes come off. And in my opinion, is the point where you should be wearing a respirator. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. If you feel like putting a respirator on to do this, that's your prerogative. I choose not to. All right, we let those parts heat up a little bit more before we poured this time. So hopefully, there we go. This is what I consider a perfectly poured jig. There's no occlusions in it, no missed pour at all. That one's a good one, and our 1/4 ounce did the same. All right. So then we take and put our base hole pins back in. Take 3 hooks, put them in. Close the mold down. And then what I'll do is I'll take, when I've got a set poured up that I've got to work with, I'll take and put the mold underneath the hot pot again. I'll take my pliers and I'll take the steel base hole pin out, put it back into the bin, and then we take our sprue here and our side cutters and running parallel with that hook, clip it off so it gives it a little bit of a mohawk there. See if I can't get it to focus on that. And it gives it a little bit of a mohawk, as you can see. And then you take and, using a pair of pliers, put that piece of lead right back in. And do the same with the other 3. Or the other 2. That one's our 1/2 ounce. No. That one's 3/8 ounce. Take the 1/2 ounce. Clip it. And then I will also take, and I've got a little plastic box here, flip it around so everybody can see it properly, that I've labeled with what size head I have that I'm putting in, and they will go just like they are into that old tackle box. Clip this sprue, that back in there. And a quarter. All right, guys. I know I only did 3 jigs up. I've got 97 more to go for the jigs that we're making today. But I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me pour 100 jigs. I wanted to show you guys what I do now with the jigs that didn't turn out quite the way I wanted. So what I'll do is, just like before, I'll take that base hole pin out, put it in the bin. Then I come to my vice grips. Same vice grips that I use for painting my jigs. I just take the shrink tube off of the jaws, kick on our flame, and I'll get right up on it and just melt that lead off. So what I'll do is I'll take this, put it right over the hot pot, and melt that lead right back in. I don't like sticking the hook down into the lead. And you clean it up just like that. It does put just a little bit of a lead residue on there, but that goes into a pile of hooks that I can reuse now. So I do it that way. Other people will just take the base hole pins out and take and dip the whole thing back in the lead and pull it out and clean the hook up. I don't like doing that because that puts lead into the eye of the hook, and I like to have my eyes cleaned out for sale because I do sell the jigs unpainted. They're $55 unpainted as of January 8th, and they are $65 painted, but with no weed guards and unskirted. I sell them $99 to a bundle. You get 33 quarter ounce, 33 half ounce, and 33 3/8 ounce. And I do it both in football head and the ball head. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and get these poured up. I'll catch you next time. And remember, try not to be boring.